While the prepared media is being sterilized in the autoclave, take this time to prepare ahead of time for the plate pouring process. I start off by disinfecting the machine with ethanol in order to reduce any potential for contamination. Then I dry off the ethanol with dry towels, but do not stress this because ethanol evaporates quickly. I start off by cleaning the parts where the plates will be stacked, then any buttons which will be pressed, and also the inside of the machine, which is the most important because this is where the plates actually open up during the plate pouring process. Make sure to close the lid immediately after. Once the machine has been disinfected, prepare the petri dishes which will be used for the pouring process. Open up the bag with the petri dishes, invert it, allowing for the lids of the petri dishes to be facing upwards. To take the petri dishes out, slowly put pressure and unravel the bag. Trust me, this takes a little bit of practice, but eventually you'll get it. Here's a little bit of a nice close-up. I open up the bag and I invert the plates, allowing for some to slide on my hand. Then this makes unraveling the bag a little easier. I put some pressure while pulling the bag up, but do not put too much pressure because this could potentially crack some plates or allow for some to fall. Then I take the plates off and place them onto the machine. You should have no problem fitting them into the machine. Notice the blue markings on the machine. The first represents a stack of 25 plates, while the second represents a stack of 50 plates. Now this is very convenient and is simply used as a reference. However, you can notice that it seems like there are 2 plates stacked over the 50 marking. Now these altogether are actually 50 plates, not more. This is because I was using different types of plates which stack differently, which looks like there are more than 50, but there are actually 50. Now, you will be using plates which should stack to that 50 mark, so do not worry, but count just in case. After performing all of these steps, your media should be sterilized or close to being sterilized. So set up 1 liter of water in a flask, place it on a hot plate, and heat it up so that it's close to boiling. Start off with a high temperature around 300 Celsius and watch the water closely so that it doesn't boil over. Make sure to stay in the same room. Once the media has been autoclaved, it is finally time to start pouring the plates. I disinfect my hands beforehand with ethanol, and I retrieve a plate pouring tube which is used to pour media into petri dishes. I open up the aluminum foil which it's stored in, and altogether this is sterilized, so make sure to handle it appropriately. I start off by grabbing the metal portion of the pouring tube. However, make sure to grab the bottom of this metal because the tip is where the media is being dispensed from into the plates, and you don't want to contaminate that. So take the bottom of it and slowly open up the foil in order to expose the part where the tube is suctioning the media. So this part, it looks like any other portion of the tube. It's very clear. You can see it at the end there. So I first plug in the metal portion into the machine, right where you see I plugged it in into that spot. And you can see I'm handling the other end carefully, making sure not to touch any portion which will be submerged in the media. So I open up the aluminum foil in which the media is concealed in, but be as aseptic as possible here too. You don't want to expose the media to too much air for possible contamination, so I close it as quick as possible. Once both ends of the plate pouring tube have been safely secured to their appropriate spot, it is time to attach this portion of the tube. It really could be any portion of the tube, but I like to start off to the portion which is closer to the middle part of the plate pouring tube, and I attach it to this, I don't know what it's called, but it suctions the liquid from the media. Then I turn the machine on, and it'll give me a few settings, and I click fill dishes. Now this gave me a little bit of an error. I don't know why I clicked cancel, but Usually never get this error, so if you ever do get it, just click continue. Here I click cancel again, but it ends up taking me back to fill dishes, so I click fill dishes and then continue, which gets the job done. After clicking the fill dishes setting, the machine's going to calibrate and shortly it'll be pouring media into the plates. After the machine has finished calibrating, hold down on the prime button to get rid of any air bubbles in the media. By priming, you can control the suction of the media at your command, so make sure not to overflow the petri dish. Also, make sure all the air bubbles are out, and at the same time, keep an eye out so the media is being dispensed properly. If there are any mistakes, this is the time to fix them. Then click start, and the machine will run at its own pace. It'll start filling up all the dishes. While the plates are being poured, make sure you, or at least somebody, is watching the machine during the pouring process. You don't want something to potentially go wrong and mess up all the work you put into making the media. Oh, and don't forget, keep an eye out on the water on the hot plate. Okay, so you finally poured your plates. Now it's time to clean up. You're almost done, don't worry. So that water you've been boiling or heating up on the hot plate, it's time to put that to use. It's used to clean the plate pouring tube, which could potentially be stuck with agar inside, and you don't want that for the future. So the next step is to take the plate pouring tube out. I take the metal portion out first. You don't want to open that vacuum first, or else it'll dispense the liquid agar into the machine, and you don't want that. So I take the metal portion out first, open up the vacuum suction, and I dump the liquid agar out into the flask. What I do next is I take a cardboard box and I place the big flask onto it, which will make the cleaning process much easier. Then I take the metal portion of the tube and place it into the big flask, which is where the water will be traveling into. And I take the suction portion of the tube into the water, which will suction from the water into the big flask. During this time, I secure the tube properly so that everything goes smooth during the cleaning process. I attach the tube to the vacuum suction and clip it on. Now I hold the prime button, which will allow for water to be suctioned from the water flask into the bigger flask, which will clean the tube and also dilute any remaining agar in the big flask during this process. If the tube ever flies out of the water flask, you can just hold on to it or place the foil to secure it.